Lesson 22 is about multiple fractional factors. And our problems are going to look like this. What we want to do is simplify 56/27 times 14/21 times 15/22. Now, the first way we could do this would be to say, what is 56 times 14 times 15? Find our answer. Our denominator would be, what is 27 times 21 times 22? And find our answer. And then we can reduce that. But there's an easier way. The easier way to do this is to simplify before you multiply. Look at what can be reduced before you go ahead and do the multiplication. So, what I see here, we can rearrange the order of multiplication so that things will cancel out. Let's say we have 14 over 22. If we were to move to the 14 where the 15 was and switch the position with the 15, we'd have this. And this would be the same thing as 7 over 11. Let's go ahead and write that. So 14 over 22, that's really the same thing as 7 over 11. Now when I look at this some more, I can see I have a 7 and a 21. Well, a 7 and a 21. 7 goes into 21 3 times. So 7 divided by 7 is 1. I'm going to circle that. And 21 divided by 7 is 3. So 7 over 21 is really the same thing as 1/3. We're making some good progress here. If we look at this some more, we can see we've got a 3 and a 15. Well, 3 goes into 15 5 times. So instead of 3, we're going to have a 1. And instead of 15, we're going to have a 5. Okay, even better. Now if we look at this, our numbers are much smaller. That's what we're trying to get to in this. Instead of having a 14 times 25, we now have 1 times 5. Instead of having a 21 times 22, we now have 1 times 11. That's a lot easier to work with. Now, can we simplify the 56 at all? Well, 11 does not go into 56, and 27 does not go into 56, so the answer would be no. 5 does not go into 27, so we're not going to be able to simplify anything from here over to here. We're going to go ahead and multiply now. 56 times 1 times 5 will give us our numerator answer. Let's do that over here. 56 times 5. That's a lot easier than saying 56 times 14 times 15. 5 times 6 is 30. We're going to carry the 3. 5 times 5 is 25. Plus 3 more is 28. We have 280. Okay, so we've got our answer. So the numerator is 280. And the denominator is 27 times 1 times 11. You might know right off the bat that that's 297. Let's look at it. 27 times 11. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 2 is 2. We've got 0 as a placeholder. 1 times 7 is 7. And 1 times 2 is 2. Let's add. We've got no carries, so we're going to get 297 working from left to right. So we get 280 over 297. We couldn't reduce or simplify anymore before we multiplied, so we're not going to be able to simplify or reduce after we multiplied. We've got our final answer. It's a pretty big one, 280 over 297, but we made it much more manageable by simplifying first. Let's move on to the next slide. A similar problem. We've got some fractions with pretty big numbers in them. We notice we have division here. So the first thing we want to do is to turn our division into multiplication so we can simplify before we multiply. Do you remember how to divide by fractions? Hopefully you said copy dot flip. So what we're going to get is 26 over 30 times 21 over 39 times, and we're going to put a dot here because copy dot flip, 15/4. Alright, very good. Now, let's go ahead and simplify before we multiply. Let's move all this out of our way. Okay, we're working down below. We'll work in light blue. So, we're looking for things that can be reduced. Let's look at the 26 and the 4. They're both even. Let's cut them both in half. We're going to get a 2, and we're going to get a 13. It doesn't matter where you start. You'll always get the same thing in the end when you've fully simplified. The 21 and the 30, I see those. But I also see 15 and 30. That's nicer, because 15 is half of 30. So 15 becomes a 1. Circle that so we know we're done with this one. And 30, that's going to become a 2. Very good. Oh, 13 and 39. 13 times 3 is 39, so 13 becomes a 1, 39 becomes a 3. This problem's getting easier as we go. There's more, because 3 goes into 21 7 times. So instead of having a 3, we have a 1, and instead of having a 21, we have a 7. Look how easy this problem became. We now have 1 times 7 times 1. That's 7. 2 times 1 times 2. That's 4. We have 7/4, which is the exact same thing as 1 3/4. You can report your answer as an improper fraction or a mixed number. Both of them will get you full credit. It's a lot easier to simplify before you multiply than to multiply all these big numbers out and then have to divide in the end by those big numbers. Alright, our lesson practice will be on page 77. Make sure you've got your notes completed, and I'll see you during our next class.